Apple's new Vision Pro.
This is the Apple Vision Pro.
And until you actually experience the Apple Vision Pro in real life, it might be hard to grasp.
The Vision Pro headset.
First look at that brand new Apple device. I think few people are talking about it. It is called Apple Vision Pro.
It's set to change how we consume and produce media. A spatial computer headset from one of the world's biggest tech companies that promises to redefine our interaction with the digital world is set to revolutionize the market. This isn't just another gadget. It's a leap into a future where physical and digital realms seamlessly merge. As we get hyped about its groundbreaking technology and immersive experiences, crucial questions arise. Who is Apple really targeting with this innovation? And with its much anticipated release outside America, hitting UK shelves on July 12th,
Almost $3,500, and I've dabbled with some similar devices. This is a computer.
is Apple Vision Pro's price tag too steep for the average consumer? And if so, why?
The real thing, of course, that it does is enable you to see, hear, and interact with digital content right in your physical space as if it's there. That's spatial computing.
It's the Rapid Capture Podcast.
Welcome back to the Rapid Capture Podcast. We have been away for quite a while, about 6 months since basically the change of the new year, and we haven't done one prior to 2023. So so it's with me, Ty, and Alex, aka Ty Kicks, and the Photogrammetry Man / Alex Tench on things like Polycam and other social platforms. So let's get into it. So there's been a lot happen since we last did a podcast.
Hang on, I've just seen your T-shirt again. You're showing off your amazing T-shirt, and I haven't got one of those amazing T-shirts. Mine's pretty good with Leica and River, but I need to get a Tyrone special. I think that's actually a custom Ty Kicks. Yeah,
I'm going for the merch more than the uniform. I think that's kind of how I roll when it comes to the Rapid Capture Podcast. And so let's kickstart it off with a little bit of what we did at the start of 2024.
We're going to rewind 6 months.
Yeah, so as we usually tend to do, we tend to go to a lot of shows. Alex loves a show. And we're going to start with the return of the Rapid Capture Podcast, episode 14. We went to CES 2024 in January. And this year was bigger than ever. As always, we love going to see the new tech and seeing what is on display. We saw LG and Samsung had some transparent TVs. I think Alex was all over them. Not really. But, I think realistically, they're probably going to be used more for sort of banners, like border banner things in windows. They basically look like a window.
They basically look really good if you've got another TV behind the transparent TV.
Correct. Yeah.
Do you need two to make it look good in a certain environments, like the fish tank demo that we saw?
Yeah, and I think that, it's a show pony for these companies to go, look, we can make like OLED or, whatever, transparent, and we can kind of create some interesting borders, banners and stuff for promotion. And then we can kind of like give it a bit of blackout behind to make it more solid again and make it look like a normal TV. But it doesn't have the dynamic range of the quality of normal TVs.
It makes it nice when you think about VR headsets and screens in headsets. Maybe in the future you could have some sort of wraparound headset that was clear and then you could see the screen within it as well.
Yeah, I think cool. that there may be some sort of transferable technology to like AR glasses or something maybe in the future, but they're going to have to get the pixels down really, really tiny, and whatever they are, they're always going to have a fairly narrow field of view unless it's something like the visor or something that I've been looking at. But let's sort of shift on. So yeah, we had CES 2024, really, really good in Las Vegas, really enjoyed it. The big things that came out of that were a lot of AI, as we're all hearing. AI is a big thing, but it was like AI both as what companies are launching in terms of sort of like, through a browser or applications, and products. And two of the big products earlier on in the year were the Humane AI pin and the Rabbit R1 as two actual physical products that were supposed to be like your personal AI assistants, both opposite ends of the spectrum. We won't go too much into the nitty-gritty of it, but, you know, I just wanted to get Alex's opinion on what he thinks between things being an app and things being a physical product and embodying AI.
I think everyone's playing catch-up, aren't they? Because the phone manufacturer are the ones that are leading the game. These boys are trying to connect another device to an already busy market. I think it's hard to put hardware in. And, you want to have this piece of new tech, but you've got to have an iPhone and another piece of hardware. I'm just not going to have another piece. I've got headphones and a phone. That's a big enough ask. I don't know what's happened since, but hasn't this, the small bit, the pin thing, the black thing, hasn't that been found out to be a complete fraud?
Well, I think what the problem is with it is that you've got a product that's supposed to be looking all shiny and fancy and polished, and actually, realistically, they've not really done their homework on the pitfalls and the perils of having something that really has minimal functionality beyond asking it questions and hoping it gets it right. Thanks. That was the biggest problem. Is it sounded like in the early days and the early tech demos, it'd ask it a question and get it wrong, which is not really what you want AI assistants to do.
You know, like your glasses, you've got the Meta glasses, I've got these on.
Yeah.
That seems like a better way of installing an AI assistant, because you're going to attach the glasses to your phone and talk to it and wear glasses, you know, like you would normally wear glasses in the real world.
Yeah.
Having another device and some glasses and some headphones, who's investing in that? This must have been funded a while ago, I think, and now they've just come out and everything else has collided into that world and they're left behind.
The AI pin from Humane was from a couple of former Apple designers, I believe, or engineers.
I wonder how long ago that was like green lit.
I don't know, but what I would say about
Seems a bit behind.
Is that both of them, if we talk about Humane versus the Rabbit, is that Humane went for the high end and Rabbit went for the low end. And the reality is that actually, if you're going to make something that's like another device in your pocket, you don't really want that device to be another high end. You've already got an expensive phone most of the time in your pocket. Does a lot of the things that you need it to do.
Yeah, so
you don't really want to spend another $800, or probably pounds, on another device that's strapped to your chest. On top of the fact that with that one, unlike the Rabbit, you needed to pay I think it was a $25 or $29 subscription as well, which was like even more money every month to make this thing work. And it had an interesting concept with the sort of projector. It had a hand projector that would project out onto your palm. But the one thing that I felt was that this does not look comfortable. And imagine if you're a woman and you've got quite small hands, or even a man and small hands, you've not got a lot of real estate for it either. So I wasn't, personally, I've never seen one in real life, but I'd like to see one in real life because I just want to see it. But I think I made a little meme about the fact that it was attached by a magnet to your chest. Every time you put another piece of clothing on, you'd have to probably take it off and remagnetize it to the outside. And someone's going to knock it off. Like, I guarantee someone will knock it off. So that was the one. There was a couple of downers on the Humane. The Rabbit on the other side is a very different product because it was made with no subscription. It was $200, I believe, which isn't too bad. $199, fairly cheap. None of these things can do things that phones can do. They are literally a question and answers box. And a lot of them couldn't do, like timers and things like that. Really simple tasks.
They were failing. I saw the videos where they were just failing on that.
But the Rabbit was, it was failing on the things that sometimes I had to outsource through the internet because it have to be connected to the internet to maybe do an order for you through a food order site. And it'd be like, I can't do this right now. And that's like, well, I thought that was the whole point. You can do some interesting stuff for me on my behalf, and not quite there yet. But I will say I have invested in an R1. And that will be a little toy to play with maybe on the next episode, even though it's not got the best reviews.
Which is the R1? The pink, the orange thing, or the black thing?
The orange one, yeah.
Okay, and how much is a Rabbit?
$200 it was.
Okay.
So, and it was like different batches of waves. Almost I felt a bit crowdfundy. And it's like a little question and answers box. You press the side, you ask it a question, it'll go find it online through different sources, Perplexity or other sources, and give you some answers.
And is this going to be connected to the internet? Is it always connected to your phone?
I think you can probably piggyback off like your hotspot on your phone for when you're about. but when you're probably at home, it will just latch onto your home Wi-Fi, and that's kind of what it's for. I thought it was quite a good one for my son who's 7, who asks me questions I don't have the answers for.
Yeah, baby
he
questions.
can just go, I'll ask you little box. I just think the name's a bit weird.
Change it to like Daddy.
So
Daddy.
I think that the
Homework box.
I like the design of it. It's got a little scroll wheel. It's got a camera on the front and the back, so you can do a little bit like the Meta glasses, where you can go like, look at this, tell me what you see.
It's
kind of
basically a
thing.
spy device.
Probably, yeah. But you can't. It's got a touch screen, but you can't do a lot of input with it. You can get a little keyboard pop up, but it's not for that purpose. So I think from the Marques Brownlee review, he found it quite limiting. But who knows where it'll evolve. For such a small amount of money, really, as a little tester, and it doesn't have any subscription, I thought it was worth a little try.
It's worth a go, but it seems a bit hard work, and it seems like the phone's going to have an app on it that's going to look orange, and it's going to do the same type of stuff.
Most likely. I think these things, most people have come to the conclusion that it could probably just be an app on the phone that you already spent £1,000+ on. So
that's why it makes me think it was a 2-year ago thing that was green lit and only just came out now.
Most likely, and it needs another 2 years to probably catch up to where the AI is going to be decent enough. And obviously with more recent news that Apple are going to start to implement their own AI into their own iOSs, and maybe, you know, for the more complicated things, ask you if you'd like, you know, OpenAI to do that with
Elon was
ChatGPT.
pissed off about that.
You know, these devices may be a thing of the past, actually, once these companies get AI implementation right into their OSs. So anyway, just going to skip on because we've got so much to talk about.
But just quickly at CES, because the reason we were there as well is we went to visit Las Vegas Airport, where the TSA were using Riverlink kits. That was my exciting bit as well. I know we like going to see the tech, but I did like to go and see one of our clients, the TSA, at Las Vegas Airport, and they were using Riverlink, and they're filming their own content and putting the 360 video content onto the link kits and allowing the students to see the immersive content all at the same time. It's great to see that. Just
to kind of take a step back, for anyone that's new to the podcast, has never heard what we do and what River is from the branding that's splashed all across our chests, obviously, is that me and Alex are part of River, which is reality and virtual reality. We do so many things in the world of enterprise, education and training for virtual reality and augmented reality, and in that XR world. So a lot of the podcast relevance is to do with that type of technology. And we will also give you some exciting news about what we do with that technology and the products that we've created. And we'll have some really interesting stuff in the next podcast about what we've done for crime scene investigation, which won't be in this one specifically, but you know, in the next ones we're going to show more about that. More about River Arc, which is an amazing building product for creating immersive spaces. And we'll talk more about Riverlink, which is our multi-user VR system for immersive video content. And immersive video content is going to be part of this podcast as well, a little bit later on.
Okay,
but
that was TSA. I'll get excited about different clients.
But I was just going to add to that I was really excited because the whole of that kind of spawned pre-COVID. It then kind of grew some legs as COVID was kind of like kicking off. Some content was created and a lot of stuff had to be sort of like, you know, greenlit and gone through quite a lot of process because of security. And COVID kind of put a bit of a speed bump on it and it's rebirthed. So it was a really exciting opportunity to be in Vegas at the right time and go and visit TSA and speak to them more about what they're doing. And we'll find out how things go in the future. So talking about that, though, because they're utilising immersive content, they're utilising 360 and 3D 180 immersive content. Mm-hmm. One of the things that we always like to go and do is visit our friends at Canon USA. We had a meeting with them, which was really good. A little catch-up with some of the guys there about what we've been doing with their products. And that was sort of leading into the fact that Canon are now broadening their immersive capture lineup, hardware lineup particularly, and they unveiled a few new lenses and a new camera. They weren't giving too much away back in CES times, but we've got a little bit more info on it now. So they've launched a new, smaller size dual fisheye lens from the original dual fisheye lens they had for full frame cameras that allowed you to shoot 3D, 8K, immersive video at full human scale. But but that was a manual lens, so you had to make sure that you set the focus. This new one will work with a APS-C size sensor on the R7 for Canon, and will give you 144 degrees of view, and only at 4K, so it's like under 2K per eye, I believe. But you know, it probably is usable for people who are entry level, who are getting into immersive capture. And for obvious reasons we're going to get to really quickly in a minute, why people might want to start being immersive videographers and editors and want to capture this stuff. Then the next thing that they launched or announced was a new dual lens lens. Sounds a bit weird, but it's for spatial video. So we've talked about spatial video on previous podcasts, about the ability to use your iPhone to be able to shoot what is now like 3D boxed in video. And Alex has shot quite a bit of it in recent times.
It's just going to get ridiculously confusing for everybody.
It is. And this is not the full scale. So you don't experience anything that feels at full real world scale. It is just purely like filming a normal video, but it's got 3D depth to it as opposed to just flat. It's a stereo. And people, there's this real kind of like diehards that call stereoscopic. It's not 3D. It's like, I just use it as an abbreviation, as we always do, for something that's got disparity in depth and creates something that feels more of I don't know, a bit more of a window into a past experience.
But how confusing that's going to be for everyone. We're just about getting round to teach people the difference between 360 video and 3D 180 video. And then we're going to chuck in the mix spatial video and immersive video from Apple.
Well, I think that's the thing. I'm hoping that they're going to be the ones.
How are we going to teach everyone?
I think they're going to be the ones, maybe Canon now with the different types of lenses, is that they might be able to help differentiate a little bit. But it's when you release a lens like the APS-C dual fisheye and say that's not 180, then it starts to get even more confusing, because it's like, well, you're not, because it's smaller sensor, smaller lenses. You're not going to get the field of view out of capture. So realistically, it's not going to be 180 degrees. Still be stereo, still going to have the 3D depth, but it's not 180. So then you then go, oh, but we're also making a spatial lens that will give you like 4K. The iPhone will only do 1080p.
And then also you can film on your Vision Pro.
Yeah, exactly. So the thing is, they're calling it, I believe it's a spatial media lens, because obviously it takes photo and video as a spatial piece of content that's got 3D depth to it. So they're the two new lenses, and then they were showing off a 360 and apparently a 3D 180 VR camera that's for consumers. Still no details on that yet, but apparently it can shoot 8K media on a smaller sensor. So it's probably going to be competing more with the Insta 360 type of cameras anyway. And we'll find out more about that later on, probably in this next couple of months, I believe. Anyway, just to shoot on then, one of the biggest announcements that came on the dawn of CES was that Apple decided they were going to launch Vision Pro in America on the 7th of February, which caused, I would say, quite a lot of stir around the Vegas halls.
The fact that they were going to announce it?
Well, the fact that they announced it. So you have so many companies there, X-Real, you've got other companies showing off their AR glasses and VR capabilities. And all of a sudden, just before this massive tech conference that Apple never attend, or if they do it incognito, they go, we're going to launch Vision Pro on the 2nd of February.
Yeah.
We're going to say it now. Get your pre-orders in.
Yes, they combined it, but we saw the launch before, didn't we? The launch was the year before. You're on about the release date.
Yeah. So when I mean launch, I mean actually in stores to buy and to pre-order. So, you know, the unveiling of it a year previous, or not even a year previous, a year to now, really, in June, was that teaser, wasn't it? It was that tease. We've got a new piece of hardware.
Where we watched it. That was at Apple Park.
We were at Apple Park watching them show off this brand new platform and hardware.
I was crying.
And we had no idea what it was really going to be like. And the frustrating thing for us was that we were leaving the US before it launched in store to buy.
We had a meeting. We had a meeting with Apple the day after they announced that last year. And then,
but again, still not getting hands-on with the hardware has been a challenge. We would have loved to have had that opportunity while we're in the States, but we couldn't. But what I will say is that I managed to grow some contacts with Apple in the UK, and we managed to get down to Battersea, to Apple's UK headquarters, and have a little bit of a show me, tell me, have a little play with it, see what it was like before it launched. Before it launches here in the UK. And that was really good.
That was great to see our augmented reality video models inside the Vision Pro for the first time. We went down with Henry and yourself.
The only thing that I would say, though, is that we were limited by the fact that the App Store wasn't available. The capabilities of all the things we'd like to really see, like immersive, content, wasn't available. So there were, I think you were sort of like probably narrowed in on your opinion of it to some of the bare bones of it. So I think it's
I was
funny.
going pass through, yeah. Let's look at the pass through. How's the pass through?
Yeah.
But then, since 6 months on, things have definitely changed our opinions on it.
Yeah, I think that analysing the little sort of basic things of the operating system and the hardware were the easiest things to do when we were testing it at Battersea. But realistically, there's a lot of change when you go through some demos of it. We have had an opportunity, but I will kind of spin back round to that in a second. So CES, great. We left midway through January and came back. During that time, we then, as River, have now grown an amazing new partnership with Leica Geosystems, who are a LiDAR scanning company. They are now going to be utilising RiverLink, the immersive video, multi-user product, to now drive sales at expos, products in their places, filming their product in immersive content. We've been shooting that 3D 180 using Canon system to show off their products in the wild and being used. It's so good.
We don't touch on that enough because we always talk about River being good for VR training, and it is amazing for VR training. But the biggest thing we've always been harping on about is trying to get people like Dali and Leica to film their expensive products. They have pieces of equipment. There's one here. We've got a scanner here in the room from Leica. It's an expensive piece of kit. They can't just ship it to someone like it's a chocolate bar. This is an expensive piece of hardware that needs to be trained on and it needs a detailed training. You can't just ship it around the world. So what we're trying to do is with the RiverLink kit, we've got a smaller box, maybe a 2 kit or a 3 kit. We call it the sales kit. Because we all know that knowledge retention is amazing inside VR, 4 times more increased than normal mediums, that selling a product is going to be really good inside VR. So Ty's been filming the RTC 360 being used on construction sites, building sites, and showing what it's like for JCB for using their X-Watch device. But they're showing it at trade shows. So people are turning up to the trade show, putting 4 headsets on, all getting experience on a construction site without even being there, safe environment. You see the product working in the environment, actually being used for the thing that it's used for. They haven't got to imagine anymore, right, wonder what this is like on a crime scene in a construction site. So that's what we're doing for RiverLink, and that's that's going to enable Leica in the future to shoot their own videos going forward with their own clients, and Ty's teaching people how to shoot the content.
Yeah, and that's a constant thing at the moment. It's ever growing. The content library is growing. I've got more editing time with our friends there tomorrow. Actually. So that was kind of one of those interim kind of partnerships that grew between CES and then we went to FDIC.
I think it helps as well that Jamie takes us out for amazing food, so that helps ease the editing process and training process with Leica. I think that's always nice to add that Jamie's been amazing at filming content, and he's actually bought Meta glasses, and keep seeing him filming content of how to use a scanner with the glasses. I love seeing the things that we do get copied by people and they run with it. It's amazing to see that. Same as Paul Spade.
Yeah, but I think that's about people with passions. He's got passion to make good quality content for the subject that he's trying to capture. And obviously he's there to be my help when I'm doing kind of maybe the slightly higher end stuff, but he's also learning off me so he can maybe do the higher quality content as we move forward. So
the 3D 180 stuff. And the vision for that is to roll that out, those kits, to the Leica sales staff, so that the sales staff can have what they have at the expos. They can see the devices being used. The one step further, little bit of a glimpse into the future, is that we've got the Leica scanner inside our crime scene investigation software. So not only can you see video of it being used on construction sites, you can also, if you have our crime scene software in a VR headset, you can go round and actually scan a crime scene. Bonkers, we'll probably show you that next time, but that's going to be an exciting bit. Virtual scanning in a virtual environment using a real-world device. Oh.
Learn how to do your own registration properly and not terribly.
Yeah. Learn about occlusion and why you have to have the scanner lower and higher in the room.
Yeah.
Fascinating. I love us getting really deep with these clients and working out what they would actually benefit from in VR eventually, because we always see it as two parts, video and interactive. And lots of people have the video section to impart the knowledge onto people. Then they do the interactive bit to do the doing. Show me how you do the crime scene or operate the product. I get excited.
So, yeah, I mentioned a minute ago about FDIC 2024. If you don't know about it, we've been there before. If you've listened to our podcast, you'll know that we've gone to this conference in Indianapolis multiple times. This is very much about fire and first responders. We've worked with them for years. It's something that we do at River quite a lot with Blue Light Services. And this year, River was sponsored by Qualcomm and Lenovo to have a booth space and really show off absolutely everything that River does. We also not only had River Link in our booth space, but Tesla, who are clients of ours, they had their River Link kit showing off their amazing content that we've captured for them in the past. And we also kind of had a proof of concept Tesla showroom that we put inside the Lenovo XR1 headset as a really interesting demo showing off different areas of Tesla, from their vehicles to their solar capture products where you can have energy storage. So much potential for creating stuff with River Arc as a product. And well, thank you to Qualcomm and Lenovo for the opportunity to have an amazing space at this show, because without them we wouldn't have been there. And I think that we could definitely do even more stuff, different expos in the future. But yeah, what was your experience of FDIC?
Well, when we were at FDIC this year, you also went off, or we also snuck off and did some more filming for Tesla. And when we turned up, what did we see there?
3 Cybertrucks in a row.
3 in a row. I mean,
3 ducks in a row.
It's probably gonna sound quite benign in the future when we're like, oh, I've just seen some Cybertrucks, but we did drive one in Chicago, so that was this year. You missed that bit out.
No, I got it in my rundown.
Okay.
Don't you worry. I just put that we also rented a Cybertruck.
Yeah, but I was going to go back to you when you were filming. We went to the Tesla factory, or actually a Tesla showroom this time, because we were shooting someone talking about the safety aspects and how to access a Tesla if it had an accident or a fire. And so you went around and filmed 3D 180 because it was most of the action was going to be in front of us, so we didn't need to have 360. But just talk us through that, cutting the cables and bits.
Yeah, it's just the power cut points to make sure firefighters can basically kind of kill the power circuit throughout the system and make sure that it's inert. It's not going to have any issues if it's had an accident. There's 2 areas within the vehicle that need to be kind of cut to make sure that it isn't going to cause any issues. And then obviously showing you access to the front trunk, the rear, if there's no power, how to manage the screen and different operations. And then really going through all the safety and fire procedures that they need to know from basically the manual. It's the handbook, but we've done it in immersive video form. And another amazing piece of content for Tesla.
Also, you did it really quickly. We went to the garage. We shot it in about an hour or 2.
Yeah.
We went back to the hotel. I think you rendered it, which is actually easier than people think. It's not like a big trauma. It's actually less angles because you're just doing one take normally. As long as the people that are talking get it right, you add the audio on, and then you added it to the box the next day. I think they had it on their River Link kit the next day to show firefighters in the Lucas Oil Stadium.
Just to not underplay how hard it really is, you definitely need decent hardware to render it.
Which is what you've got in front of you.
So realistically, having some horsepower helps to turn it around. I think it was maybe 2 days. But we got a version to show for approval by day 1.
You're used to that sort of thing, though. This is exactly how you rolled with the Fremont factory Tesla project. We went and shot it over 1 day, 2 day. We went back to an Airbnb. You did an edit while I sort of sat in the hot tub for a bit.
Over the weekend, you sat in a hot tub and
you did the edit. I just directed it, showed you what I wanted to have. You slipped on a bit of oil. It was all, you see, but you're used to that sort of quick turnaround.
Yeah.
I think that first Fremont factory video is amazing for what you got out of that.
I think
You
realistically,
get better than a real tour.
Realistically, there are diminishing returns really for overdoing it when it's it's a safety piece of content at the end of the day. There may be some changes. I think most of this content that gets captured is like, here, we need this now. We then realise later there maybe needs a little bit of tweaking here, there and everywhere, but it's sufficient for now. I never expect there aren't going to be any amendments to this type of content, but realistically, if it paints the right picture and it can be used, it's just going to get used, and I'm happy with that. That's fine by me. And I think that realistically, they're happy with what they've got, and actually the content that we've captured for ourselves for our Riverlink kits for first responders and fire generally tend to not have crazy overproduction these days. I think we've managed to really kind of like slim it down into something a little bit easier to consume, and I'm happy shooting that way anyway. So just to kind of elaborate, we showed off River Investigate, which is our fire investigation, arson investigation, room scale PCVR software. That went down really well with people that didn't even know that existed.
That room was amazing there. We had a massive, almost like a mini ballroom. XR Studios, nice big area. FDIC was really different this year compared to being on the show floor. It was amazing to be in a room that's dedicated to people that want to come and see XR solutions. And at the back of the room, we had Fire Investigation, River Investigate, which allows you to investigate the cause of the fire. We've got 8 different scenarios, photorealistic, photogrammetry inside VR. And we sell that on a license fee all over the world for the fire and arson investigators to do their training in a safe way, not having to breathe in all those carcinogens that are in those burn containers in the real world. You can just do half of the burns in VR. We've got multiple different use cases now that we can show of people using that, especially the Fire Service College. But yeah, it's going down really well. It's an amazing time to talk about the VR stuff because that's predominantly been done on a Vive with a laptop. And now we're going to be putting that down onto a Quest 3 with Riverlink. So you can see in the future that fire and police and ambulance, blue light services could have one headset, or maybe that's a box of headsets, that has Riverlink, the simultaneous video sharing software, as well as the investigate hands-on stuff for crime and police.
Yeah.
Crime and fire.
Yeah, and I think that that's a real good overview of kind of pretty much most of the stuff that we've been doing anyway. So I'm not going to kind of keep on with that subject and just shift on before we do the XR news. That we flew into Chicago for the event. We decided that this time it's a one-stopper for us, so we have to either hop on another flight, or in this case, we decided to meet up with our good friend Kevin, who we
Mr. Kevin Soffen.
We will give honourable mention to because he's an absolute legend and has been with us for a very long time.
You do often use his postbox in America.
I do. He's happy to use my UK one, but he never has done. But maybe one day we'll see. But one of the things that we kind of were aware of whilst we were there was the opportunity maybe to get our hands on a Cybertruck and give it a bit of a test drive and capture some content. And we managed to find one, didn't we?
You did. We found a Cybertruck, or you did, and so we hired it. We nice for Tyrone to use my credit card to hire the Cybertruck, but I think it's good value because it was all part of the marketing plan for Tesla.
Yeah, and
so
my job was still
really
to capture it. So Al was still soaking himself in hot tubs, but in the back of the Cybertruck. No, joking. We needed to get content. I think it was really valid to make sure that we captured as much of it as possible because it's like one of, 2 Cybertrucks that we were aware of in Chicago. We saw one driving by. It was parked up and it was in matte black and it was really, really discreet, really, to be honest. Whereas ours was brand spanking new, wasn't it?
It had never been rented before.
Super shiny, and there's a really cool video on Tykick's YouTube channel if you'd like to go and watch our adventures in the Cybertruck. So yeah, it's TY space KIX. Go and give it a little watch. And it was great. I absolutely loved the Cybertruck. I
drove it.
I know it's not coming to the UK. That's why I argue and say it is coming to the UK.
It's definitely coming to the UK.
Yeah, it's going to look like the Cyber van by the time it comes to the UK. But we'll see. Alex,
you think
it's going to wrong.
You think it's going to have some crazy change and then it'll be allowed in the UK?
I think the only way... people will say the only reason it can't come here is because it's too big. I don't agree with that case. I don't think that's the case. I think the only reason it might not come here is because it will absolutely chop you in half because it's made out of like cold rolled stainless steel. And it would need some serious airbags or maybe a slight change to the sharp corners and the really flat, hard front.
I think maybe that can just be fixed, though. They've obviously got a plan for it, because they're showing it off in England in the bull ring.
But they're not driving
They're
it
showing
anywhere.
off the
It keeps getting
Cybertruck
put on a
everywhere.
trailer. It keeps getting rolled on and off a trailer. And
Well,
not
it
driven
never
anywhere.
actually has...
No. No one's
driving
driving it. No. It's getting rolled on and off the trailer and then dragged around the country. So it's such a shame, but, there are EU rules that are kind of preventative at the moment. But I'd like to see him here just because I think it's different. Very different.
I think we should definitely buy one and get it rivered up.
That would be cool.
We should have a river Cybertruck.
Anyway, let's shift on now. We're going to really kind of push on through because we are well over half an hour into the podcast, and I want to kind of get a few things in. So XR News, we're going to start with the big one, the big thing that maybe isn't for America, but obviously we are in the midst of new territories having this. But Vision Pro launched and released in the US on the 2nd of February with a lot of social presence, lots of influencers exposing the headset to their broad social audiences, which to me and you and anybody else in this industry is amazing. I don't care whether they're doing stupid stuff or good stuff. In some ways, it's just another billboard for a VR headset on someone's head or an immersive headset on someone's head and going, what the hell does that do? It'd be interesting to know what that does and give more awareness. Yes, they're maybe not the best case studies for using a headset, like people driving Cybertrucks with it on. Or Casey Neistat deciding to just wander around Manhattan with it on, or go on a boosted ball with it on. But still, they're big, big things. Like that one in the Cybertruck went viral, massively viral. Not real, it was definitely staged. I know the channel that did it, Full-Time Filmmaker, I think they're the ones that staged it. And Casey wanted to just prove a point in seeing whether he could wear it all day, I think, if I'm honest. So if you haven't seen those videos, go and check it out. I think Full-Time Filmmaker and Casey Neistat's channel.
The Casey one's good. I like that one.
Yeah, and to be totally honest, I just think that it's just adding more XR hardware, spatial computers to the masses' eye line. People are going to get to see it. But we're 5 months on since that released, and I went on a personal trip to New York in early June, and I would say that the Vision Pro hype's died a bit. Like, there's not that much fanfare for it now. It all kind of ended a little bit towards the end of February into March time. And realistically, any one of those influencers that decided to buy it for the hype and had no idea what to do with it probably returned it, and that's fine. They wanted their $3,500 back, or $3,800 with tax. And that was always going to be the case to get views. But the true believers have still got theirs from what I can tell. And I think that we're kind of now getting to a point where we're hearing more about what's going to happen with its broader release. We're hearing that Asia, again, some parts of Asia are getting it on the 28th of June, which is literally this Friday coming. And places in Europe, Canada, and Australia are going to get it on the 12th of July. Which is good. And Apple, in their keynote in May for the iPad, said that half of the Fortune 500 companies are using Vision Pro in some way. So it's not putting them off, even though it is a high price point.
I wonder if they think using the device means they've bought the device, because there's a lot of places, like with the old hype of the VR headsets in the past, big companies will just go and buy the headset and then realise that there's only a few demos, but show everyone the demos, but not actually make anything. Yeah. That's probably going to happen first of all. But there were a lot of stunning demos on the Vision Pro.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that you're going to need a crack dev team to be able to make you something. And I would probably say that the biggest problem with releasing it solely in just the US and not anywhere else is that yes, anybody could make something for it, but you can't have the device to see what it really is like to be on device. So most of the things probably have been made stateside, unless you're using the simulator, which is never going to be as good as seeing it in a headset as we knew when we went to Battersea. So from that standpoint, seeing it in 3 dimensions with your own eyes is night and day from seeing it on a flat screen.
Like the model of Warwick. Jesus.
There's over
seeing
2...
that inside the headset.
Yeah, stunning. Absolutely stunning. Any 3D model in there seems to just look stunning. But it's one of those things where developers are slim on the ground. There's over 2,000 native apps now for Vision Pro, but still, I think it's very early days. People are like, has it failed? I'm like, well, it can't fail if it hasn't launched beyond America. So we are heading into that, and that's where we're going to go after our XR news. I don't really want to sort of overpopulate with Vision Pro stuff because we do have one in the River offices. We have had one to hand, and we have managed to play with it after bringing it back from the US. Prior to the UK launch, we wanted to be ahead of the curve, and I think we will be. So let's cut that short for now and just do some XR news. So let's talk about Quest 3. Last time we were on, Quest 3 was kind of new in the office. We hadn't had it long. You wanted to do some driving in the car with it, which I don't know if you ever did.
It was not appropriate to drive in the car with the Quest 3 headset on, I'd just like to say. But the frame rate was not, the latency is not good enough, but maybe in the Vision Pro.
Yeah, but the OS has had plenty of updates, so it's had a chance to mature. The problem is that it's cheaper. It's a much better price point than the Vision Pro ever will be, but it does lack the power to allow you to do multitasking features. But it's got good hand tracking. I'll always say it's got good hand tracking, but it doesn't have any of the eye tracking, face tracking, any of that stuff. But there's been some big updates recently, which are going to be interesting to see how Apple respond to it and other manufacturers respond to it. That they're now allowing, and this maybe is not so much Apple, but we'll see, manual OS updating with a Meta tool, so you no longer have to wait for the new version. And they would roll it out sporadically to headsets, so you may not have the new version straight away. Felt a bit old school Android, where you have to wait for the new version.
What determines who gets the new version?
It's random. It was just so random. Like, you'd hope you'd go on and there'd be an update to like V66 or V65, and you didn't know whether you were going to have it or not. And there were times where I'd be waiting for ages for the new one because I wanted to see what the new update to the camera might be and pass through and stuff like that. And now there's a new Meta tool that will allow you to be able to update it through your computer manually, and you can just do it straight away. So that's a welcome thing for anyone who's
cool. I guess that's a little bit like the Quest for Business is going to be doing when you can dial in and update the headsets.
Yeah, and then Logitech have just launched a pen that will work with Quest 3. So that's pretty interesting as well, because there'd been some rumours about Apple considering the idea of having
it's like a Wacom pen type thing.
Yeah, and you can do 3D drawing.
I thought that was
super
good,
accurate
because I'm always using the Apple Pencil. But if I can be inside VR and do some stuff, that's
go on
cool.
the link. You'll see some more info about it. Mm-hmm. We got a little link that sort of leads you out to a story that Upload VR did on it, which is interesting. And it's not even that expensive. It's like, I think it's not far off the same price as Apple Pencil Pro.
Looks cool. Looks a bit fatter than a normal pencil.
Yeah, but it'd be interesting to see whether Apple can, if it's really good on Quest 3, especially within pass-through, and it's useful, will Apple consider that being something of a tool that would be beneficial to Vision OS and having that, like...
Well, support the Apple Pencil.
Yeah, why not?
That'd be cool.
That would be really, really good. So Quest 3 has had those. These are things that are fresh in June as news for Quest 3 specifically. And there is some other headset news, but I want to just pick on the one at the bottom because it is Meta related still, which is that finally Meta are back working on Quest Pro 2.
Which one? Look at that. I got it.
Yeah, so Quest Pro 2 apparently started being worked on again as of November. It wouldn't surprise me if it's always being worked on, but the leakers have said that it's finally actually a thing that they're going to actually do.
Quest Pro 2 back in November.
Yeah, they had obviously a bit of a bad feedback from the original Quest Pro, missing certain hardware like depth sensors. The pass-through was actually a colour overlay on top of black and white, and it was very noisy.
Maybe they're going to drop it with Kodak avatars being amazing.
That would be good. That would be pretty amazing. But
with standalone Kodak avatars.
But they would need, I would say, if they're going to ever learn from their mistakes, it needs to be a decent price point. You're looking, I'd say it couldn't be more for them more than £1,000. It can't. Because if you think the high-end Quest 3... with the most storage.
Yeah, you just jump straight back to that. It's got to be... I don't even know how they're going to do two headsets. That seems weird.
It can't be £1,500 like last time. I think everyone's jaw dropped to the floor, and they can't follow like Apple's lead by going, we want it to be this multitasking thing and stuff like that. Apple can take that hit. Meta, I don't think they can take that hit again, but I think they need to make sure it's got good depth sensing capabilities. It's got a much better pass-through. They need to reduce that warping that you get in Quest 3. still. It still warps. And, Apple's, even though it's not perfect, is very warp-free. I don't see a lot, hardly at all.
It says at the bottom, though, that Meta's next headset will be the Quest 3S, and its focus is on lower end than Quest 3, not higher.
Yeah, but that is a replacement for Quest 2. So, which is weird, because I'd never associate the S being for slower. I always thought S was for speed. When the iPhones came out and they go 4S, 5S, I thought that was for speed and an increase. But it sounds like it is a thing to have an S. But again, like we're talking about S's on the end of things. Pico have got a new headset coming at some point soon. It's been certified through like Korean certification and it's supposed to launch, which will be the Pico 4S, which I presume should be faster, not slower than what they've already got, because they don't need one that's slower. They need something that's an improvement over Pico 4, Pico 4e.
It's great that hardware's improving really quickly, but in the same way everyone's going to get confused with the video side of things, people are going to be so confused with what headset is a headset. We have it now.
Yeah.
I still have people saying to me, does that mean we can have it on Google Daydream? Does that mean we can have it on Google VR? Can I have it on Google Cardboard? Can I have it on Google Glass?
Yeah. And that's the thing, like, there's so many different products. We can only really support some of the ones that we actually think are going to get used. Or as if anything, has the capabilities to show off what we want it to show off well. And I think that's the most important thing.
To make things even more clear as well, for the things that we're focusing on company-wise, the Vision Pro is very much an expensive device that shows really high-end amazing stuff, but we're currently not developing a product for Vision Pro. We're just looking at the technology and seeing how amazing that is compared to everything else.
Yeah.
But our focus is still on Quest 3, Pico 4, and all the other Pico headsets. We've actually, ironically, our biggest product's been Pico G2, G3, standalone video headsets have been the main thing that's sold. So we've seen the market carry itself without even having interactivity. So I'm really excited for interactivity, especially with River CSI.
But with our main topic, when we get to it after the next couple of things, we are going to talk about Vision Pro from a River standpoint, what that means for River and what has it put out into the world that we knew already, and most people in this world know already, but probably the people that are unawares are more aware now. And maybe that's not just general public, that is businesses who are looking for a solution that don't know what they can have, that is not cost prohibitive. That's the biggest thing, is that Vision Pro is cost prohibitive for multiple users. And yeah, we said earlier on, Apple say half the Fortune 500 companies may be using it. That's great. They've got deep pockets, but most companies don't, and most organizations maybe are funded through grants and different things, and realistically that is not an option for them. But what it does do is it gives us the opportunity to say something like immersive video is not dead. People will always poo-poo things that have been around for a long time, but there's no excuse for saying that it's not usable anymore. Resolutions improve, frame rates improve. There's a lot of things that can get better to make it a more lifelike experience, and we just wanted to see what the future of that will hold. But we'll talk about that again towards the end. So last couple of topics that we can just go over really quickly is that Sony debuted their brand new standalone headset that's not PlayStation orientated. It's supposed to be for creatives, and that was at AWE 2024 in Long Beach, California. Gutted I wasn't there this year. Absolutely want to be there next year, and I'm almost certain that's not even a question I need to ask Alex for next year. The specs were really, really good. They've got a brand new XR2 Plus chip, I believe. I believe it's the more improved version. I'm not sure if it's the same as Quest 3. I've been told there's a new Qualcomm chip coming for these headsets, so I really hope that it was, and I presume it is, because it's powering 4K micro OLEDs, a bit like Vision Pros. I don't really love the look of it. It looks a bit bland. It's grey and a bit meh. It does have like a bit of a flip up, flip down, mixed reality kind of...
Looks like that Canon version, that Canon black thing.
Yeah, it does have those similarities. But But it's just something that I don't know whether that's how it will be forever, or whether
watching
that's
the video.
a sort of a test version of it. But we've seen it in imagery, but never seen it being used. And a lot of people tried it, like our good friend Hugh, who was creator up, is now Hugh Ho. And
What is the control device? Sorry.
Well, you've got a ring
Yeah.
for one finger, and you've got a strange looking thumb. It's like a finger thumb holder thing, and that's the interface. That's the interaction. So not hand tracking.
Funny.
But apparently it was quite intuitive in some ways. But I just think I'm probably going to lose that ring. That ring would get lost.
Extreme.
I'd never look after that ring. So, but
You're always losing your ring.
it's good to have something that maybe has some feedback, though, and that's the one thing that Vision Pro won't have. No controllers, no real-world feedback. So, yeah, the reaction, by the looks of it, was a little bit disappointing, unfortunately. And so it sounds like Sony may have to improve some things about it. Moving on to Vario Teleport. Did you see that? I sent you a link to that.
No, I've got it.
So Vario Teleport is a scanning app, I believe, that will allow you to scan Gaussian splats. We've talked about Gaussian splats before, Alex's favourite subject. Loves Gaussian splatting. But he will love it when they are offering a workflow into PC VR. So you'll be able to see these exceptionally decent Gaussian splats and be able to see it in PC VR. The only downside is that it is PC VR.
Yeah.
It's not standalone.
Yeah.
But the thing that was really interesting was watching the promo for it from Vario was that it was showing not only Vario headsets, but Meta headsets.
Plugged in with a cable?
Plugged in with a cable, but it wasn't just Vario headsets. So it is actually about the platform of using Vario Teleport to capture these Gaussians.
I'm watching
and
it.
having a way into PC VR on numerous headsets.
Sounds nice. Obviously, you are going to have... I'm looking at the motorbike at the moment. It's going to be what we wanted to have was to be able to walk around these things and have a texture, proper texture.
Yeah.
I wonder what's going to happen when you get up really, really close, whether this whole pipeline does texture it or whether you get really close and it looks like a tiny point cloud.
Well, maybe we need to have a little play. We'll have to get the Teleport app and we'll have to get it jacked into a Quest 3 or something and see what it looks like and see how good it is.
Quest 3 what? With a cable?
Or Quest Pro. Like I've seen a Quest Pro work with it by the looks of it from the promo material, so we can give that a little try and see how that is. So that'd be good. And then the last thing...
That seems, though, seems very interesting, as in like what Meta or Apple are going to do.
Yeah.
Because their devices are scanning rooms.
Yeah.
And that just looks like... You know when you see those little bits of tech where Vario or whoever's pinched that little bit that someone's going to make really seamless? We see it now with the Quest 3 scanning your room and the Vision Pro scanning your room. I think if we can scan environments really quickly, we can do that whole teleport, but without using this, we're going to be using Vision Pro or Quest 3. I don't think people are going to buy a Vario with a cable just to do the teleport thing. Maybe it's a bit more industrial thing. This is cars.
I can imagine a bit like how we were thinking about River requiring a PG application of some kind, which would be really, really good for us to have now that CSI is a thing. The opportunity for Vario to be able to give you the best kind of experience of scanning something and seeing something as high fidelity for their clients, and their clients generally tend to be, military related, automotive. So realistically, they're giving them a product that allows them to create their own stuff and bring it into the hardware that they already own. They're already paying for or whatever they've been utilizing to visualize their stuff. They're going to have more that they can use it for, and then on top of it, it's like, well, we're not going to close out anybody else that has access to PC VR. The downside is for me is I don't have a PC, so I can't use it.
That'd be great for things like we do, like capturing video of a show. Imagine seeing a splat of someone's stand at a show.
Yeah,
like for
absolutely.
Capturing them forever.
Final news does go back to Apple, and it is a very Apple-centric podcast for obvious reasons. But
we've been waiting for years for Apple to drop this.
Yeah, this is relevant though from the standpoint of with the 5 months in that we've had Apple Vision Pro out in the wild in the US. It seems like from Mark Gurman, who is the sort of Apple leaker, who knows a little bit about what Apple do, that they have decided that the Apple Vision Pro 2 is now paused and that they are going to put their priorities on making a more affordable version, something that's going to be about $1,500 to $2,000 that will not lose some of the key features that Vision Pro has. They do not want to drop quality. They don't want to lose maybe the micro OLED panels.
What are they going to drop?
Find
save
things
$1,000,
to make
$2,000
it more affordable for broader consumers, and it likely will be like a Vision, not a Vision Pro, and still keep Vision Pro for the foreseeable future. That's the sort of extra headset news in the XR news, and we're going to shift over to the main topic, which is Vision Pro
again
UK launch. And so the UK launch is just around the corner. It's going to be pre-ordered this Friday, the 28th of June. I'm really excited for it because it's just going to open up so much, and we'll be able to access the store with our own Vision Pro properly, not have to have a workaround. The box is open, so you do careful picking up.
Careful handling.
Don't hold it by that interface, by the way.
Carry on.
The product itself will release to the public on the 12th of July at a whopping £3,499, and that will be for the 256 edition. It is an amazing product, as Alex is holding up. It's a typical Apple fragile product, I will say, made out of glass and metal, or should we say aluminium, or if you're American, aluminum.
You would really not want to drop that on a pavement.
Definitely no. And
not on a pavement. It feels so amazing to put on with the strap at the top.
Yeah, and I bought the strap just to make it a little bit easier for others to wear in the office, because the problem with Apple Vision Pros is they're very tailored to an individual head size. So you have to scan your face into the app. That will then determine your interface size. And so in turn, it's not particularly broad shareable. And because of that, I thought, purchase this kind of like third party from Spigen. Shout out to Spigen. Great company for making accessories. We're definitely up for a sponsorship. If you want to send some stuff over, we will happily demo it, like this Apple Vision Pro top strap. Definitely gives you a little bit of extra support, I think, if I'm honest.
It's amazing because we've tried both. We have tried using them without it when we went to London.
But the whole point of this is to give people who are thinking about the idea of purchasing an Apple Vision Pro in the next couple of weeks why they should, what we think to it, and what we think it will mean for VR, mixed reality, XR in the future. And one of the first things that I wanted to ask Alex, and he can ask me back as well, is his first impressions of the headset, both when we went to Battersea and with a little bit more longer usage since having it in our hands, being able to see other content.
Just doing a selfie, while we're talking. I think it's the bit that I've always said from when we were in America and it actually released, and we never even knew if it was going to actually release. For me, it's the validity that it gives the whole industry now. I'm looking at it, me bouncing it around on my head, but making it seem a bit like a joke. But the fact that we have this in our hands in the world means that a massive, one of the world's biggest companies, has put a big push towards VR. Whereas when you had Facebook doing it and Vive doing it, it had never had that super push. We're going to see now this get the same type of product idolizing that the iPod got, and the same thing that the iPad would get.
iPhone.
As we see this come out, that is what you see. We saw it when we went to Northampton Uni recently, and you got it out and showed it to a few people. It's like magic when you have a go with it. It's like when you first had a go on pinch and zoom on an iPad back in the day. The user interface, the interaction that you have with just tapping your fingers and looking around with your eyes is like magic. You show people it and you can see how in the future things are going to move to interactive like this. So much more spatial. Have a little hold for your camera.
Yeah, my first impressions, and what I have to really kind of sort of hit home, is that everyone will go, oh my God, it's ridiculously expensive. But one of the main things that I wanted to really be sure on before we sort of thought it was worth having something like this within the River office is the fact that, does it really improve on what we already have? Like, is there any point in really bringing this in for, very minimal amounts of use cases? And I think I tried it in Battersea, and I really thought that the pass-through was good in comparison to Quest 3. It did have a bit of motion blur, but I could forgive that for the lack of warping that it has. But then to see 3D models and things inside it were amazing. They are really crisp with the foveated rendering. And realistically, there isn't anything that I would turn around and say was a negative, other than people were turning around and saying that it did have a little bit of excessive weight. It is heavier than some headsets, or it feels like it because it doesn't have that counterbalance. That's the only thing I would say. A lot of other headsets may have a little bit of a counterbalance.
That felt so good on my head then.
But having something like this top strap definitely helps to give it a little bit more support. And Apple probably wouldn't like me to promote a top strap, putting something on it. But I think everyone has to just make these devices as comfortable for them to wear as possible to get the use out of it. Otherwise, you're just not going to wear them. For us, we're a VR XR company, so we are going to utilise this to the max. I've been using this pretty daily. I really enjoy using it. I enjoy the multitasking element of it, and I enjoy the lack of screen door. It has a narrower field of view, so be mindful if you are thinking about purchasing one and you've owned previous Meta headsets or other headsets that have got a wide field of view. It is a little bit narrower, but there are trade-offs. You get better quality panels, and it is a very, very crisp experience. But I'm not going to elaborate too much on that. My first impressions of it was that it was amazing, and nothing knocked me off that. I understood, even with the price point, I still thought that I could understand why it was at that price point.
We always say to people online, if they have any sort of preconceived idea about what it is, then they should have a go and watch the Apple immersive video trailer. I mean, you can probably show that on the screen now, but as I remember watching that, Ty put it on my head first time here, and I was literally blown away, crying, commenting on it. I think there's been a reaction video filmed recently with a lot of people in the office seeing that same content. The fact that it's shot on a different type of camera than we're used to seeing means that it gets a boost in resolution. The fact that the screens inside the headset have been specifically made for this headset and it's not off-the-shelf hardware means that you see a different thing in your eyes. Like, your body feels different. You never see any pixels, and the audio is amazing. Every shot's been super thought about in detail. Are you going in now and having a little go? You're teasing me. We need to have two now. Can we go and buy another one?
We need to get one as of the 12th of July. Remember, it's on its way. But I think the key thing for me when you're talking about immersive content was that we have strived to get to as much realism out of capturing immersive video. And immersive video is capturing real-world stuff. It's not CGI. It's not made in a games engine. It's totally been shot real events and at real-world scale. And we've been shooting with the Canon dual fisheye system. And the minute that I saw the Apple immersive content, and I was already aware they were maybe not using Canon hardware, but I never knew the fidelity that they were getting, because we never got a chance to see that at Battersea. We didn't get to see that in Chicago when we did a demo. So the first opportunity was when I got this headset, downloaded the immersive trailer, and was blown away by the fact that whatever camera they were using, I knew instantaneously was way and above whatever I've used.
So you were ready to find it, and
like, what is that
you're
camera?
Ready to buy.
Yeah, and I'm stunned that it's had so little headlines in 5 months. Not a lot of people talking about it,
because everyone,
and it deserves it. It absolutely deserves it. And the people who have been capturing this type of content on Apple's behalf, I think Atlantic Productions and other companies, Motion Impossible,
I think they're involved,
have done some incredible.
Rob was like,
capture.
"Do you like the parkour shot?"
Yeah, I do love the parkour shots. I think
so. We need to ask
amazing.
Rob Druitt, can you let us know, please, what you did in terms of that shot? I imagine there was a Motion Impossible rig involved on that 8K Blackmagic camera.
There's some behind the scenes. I've seen a little rig. It looks pretty amazing.
Maybe we see Rob running around with one of his robots carrying that camera, but that is probably what you mentioned to me a while ago when you said you had something special on the go.
Yeah, the immersive content is by far one of the most amazing things, because not only does it have amazing amounts of depth in stereo, the fidelity is amazing. The frame rate's at 90 frames per second is just like lifelike.
You're going to have people that are really confused there because they're going to think that the Apple headset's going to give them some crazy interactive, immersive, photorealistic experience.
Which it
no,
can.
just video.
But it can do
It can do, but it's going to do video
this is
really
like
well.
Something that Apple are going to push, and it obviously brings back into our world with Riverlink that we offer something that is not cost prohibitive. Like understanding
Video
that the
sharing.
camera is actually around 16K, as in like resolution. It's probably going to be over 16K in price. It's got a heavy duty workflow. If you're shooting even at 60 frames, you're going to have a lot of data. I cannot imagine what the data is out of that camera capturing. And realistically, there's going to be some serious workflows. This product also, if we say product, I'm on about Vision Pro, can produce Dolby Atmos sound as far as I'm aware. So you've got the most amazing sound with the most amazing visceral content in front of you. You feel like you're stood in front of rhinos running past you so close that it makes you kind of leap back a little bit and have a gasp and go, wow. If you don't go wow and you're in this world of VR, XR, and you think you've seen it all, you haven't. You absolutely haven't until you see this content.
Here comes the video rebirth again. We talked about it when Oculus Go died and they thought that the video was dead, and now it's going to have a massive rebirth again. I can see Ty's eyes. I filmed a little bit on Instagram, so I think that is amazing, seeing your eyes at the end of this through that screen, which is not really your eyes. If I could see the latency, I could probably know it's fake.
Yeah, absolutely. But I haven't asked you what you thought your cons were. What do you think your cons were so far? Have you not actually kind of found anything yet?
What, con with that headset?
Yeah, anything that you would say could be improved upon for future versions. I would probably say the
field of view.
The field of view.
Yeah, you forget about it, but field of view.
I think the pass-through cameras can get better. I think there's still room to make them better. The pass-through is nailed. In my eyes, I've got pretty decent depth, stereo depth. I've got very, very little, if any, warping at all. The colours probably will improve with better quality cameras and also noise levels in slightly low light. But actually, the one thing that it does very, very well, that others, other than Vario's, I would say, because bearing in mind they're PCVR headsets with much higher quality pass-through cameras, is that it exposes very well for outside. So if this window was open behind us, it would expose really well for that automatically. And other than that, it's just weight. I would probably say that weight from a standpoint of any headset, all headsets are going to just probably get lighter somehow, and they need to find a way. And maybe they'll shift some compute into the tethered battery, get you used to having this tether, which I will say, I'm not going to lie, I have caught it on a couple of chairs and a couple of things in my time which scare me a little bit, but that is the only thing I would say. And I might have dropped the battery once, so it slipped out of my pocket, but it's not damaged, so it's fine.
Look after it.
And yeah, I think maybe the other negative I would turn and say is just they need to make this case cheaper. The case was $200 and it will probably be £200 when it comes out in the UK, which most people will just go, well, I'll just buy the Spigen one that's just under 60 quid. But it is a very cool case. I love it. It's a bit spacey.
It looks like it's come straight out of the ISS.
It's very padded and it's very solid. And people say it's too big, but they never saw my Quest Pro case, which was a joke. It was very big.
This is definitely like floating around on the International Space Station.
I love it.
This is one of the little cargo bags that floats around in space.
It's got some Tom Sachs vibes about it, which I love anyway as a designer.
Is he that guy that breaks things apart?
The
one who did the model? Oh, no.
No, he does more making stuff and designing stuff and is a bit of an artist. But
okay.
So the last few things to get on with so that we can bring this podcast 14 to a close, and I may take this headset off in a minute, is that news about the Apple Vision Pro, which you may want to know, thinking about purchasing this if you're in our world of XR VR, is that Vision OS 2 was announced at the latest keynote for WWDC. It was a year since the announcement of the one more thing being Vision Pro, and it kicked off WWDC as the first thing. Vision OS 2 is coming in later on this year, and it's going to bring some updates. But one of the things that he did not say that Upload VR have talked about is Apple Vision Pro will support full room scale VR, which is something that I apparently didn't do in its early OSs. So what do you think to that?
Well, I think it would be... I mean, the article says things about Beat Saber, but that's not really for me. But it'd be nice if we could go into a fire investigation scenario and do some proper investigating. We've seen how good the Warwick photogrammetry model looks. Imagine looking at all the photorealistic burnt arson items out of Investigate and also CSI. Then you got to have the whole conversation about price. But is it good enough experience on a Quest 3 to do an arson investigation, or does it really need to have two Vision Pros? I'm not sure.
It says to me that there is more power to be unleashed in this headset if they've not actually allowed full room scale, which says to me that, you know, if we could get into River Investigate on this headset and you could have share play, then you've got that multi-user, and that both of you in different Vision Pros could
looking
do
at the
it,
same model,
and you have the best fidelity fire investigation scene you've ever seen with your own eyes.
There could be a need for it if we are looking at mega photorealistic stuff where the actual smoke and burn patterns need to be as real as the real world. But at the moment, we are scaling down to Quest 3 to make it more mass market, because we can have 12 in a box then.
Yeah,
we can have 6 in a box.
This is just to turn around and say, like, if you can get to that point now, where will we be in 5 years' time?
With a cheaper headset as well.
With a cheaper Vision Pro or any other that has the high fidelity panels and power, and that's the real key to it.
Get 4 of them in a
box. Tetherless being the key to it. And then also, there is an app apparently that will allow you to use Apple Vision Pro on Steam. So that's another thing that'd be interesting to just test and play with as well.
God, imagine a look at the flight simulator graphics inside that.
That would be stunning. I think someone's already done that, I think. So that would be pretty amazing. So yeah, Apple Vision Pro has got some amazing features. Some of the things that I will probably turn around and say that I've used since getting my hands on it were the Apple Immersive Video. Go and try that out. I'd love to hear people's comments about it. I'd love to know what they thought about particularly the trailer, but obviously looking at the other content from the wildlife, dinosaurs, the parkour, and then also you've got utilising USDZ files for 3D models. Go and check out Polycam if you've never tried it and see what that's like for some of your models.
Oh, whoa.
Oh, Alex, the Polycam king.
I got Polycam Creator of the Week. I'm sure they just go through like the top, 60,000 people and pick one. But obviously it was me. Polycam Creator of the Week. I was really proud of that. Posted it everywhere as normal. But we're waiting for our next model competition. I'm sure we'll have that again soon.
Yeah, we'll be bringing our TikTok/hot takes from the world of scanning very soon. There's just too much to talk about in this one, especially with this crazy headset. I would definitely say to download a couple of other apps. There's a Gucci experience that's really, really interesting and worth looking at. You've got What If, which is from Disney and Marvel. Download the Disney app as well if you get an opportunity to see what it's like to see 3D movies, and also make sure that you play around with the different immersive spaces that you can trigger by twisting the digital crown. Definitely good.
We're going to call it to an end then, but also we filmed this on the new Apple multicam thing on the iPad Pro. Didn't work as smoothly as we wanted it to. We wanted some more angles, but maybe in the future we can add that as another angle.
Potentially, and what I will say is that when we do have more Vision Pros, we may meet up with a few people in InSpace, which is another app for Vision Pro, which is their sort of social platform at the moment. Definitely, I've been jumping into there. I was in there last night talking to a couple of people. It's a really cool space. And seeing the personas is a bit crazy and out there. We did a FaceTime call, didn't we, recently? And I was on
an iPad. I was on a phone, and you were on something else.
And I was my persona character, and it was all a bit, uncanny valley. But still, I think they're really good. I think that they're a vast improvement on any kind of avatar that I've used. And until we get codec level avatars, codec level avatars like what was demoed on the
with Zuckerberg and Lex.
Yeah, then, that is the next best thing, and I think they'll only improve. So, yeah, that was the Rapid Capture Podcast, episode 14. Thanks for listening to us talking for the last hour or so, and we will be back for episode 15 really, really soon. Thanks for watching.
See you later. Goodbye.